Welcome to the National Cherry Blossoms Festival. Every year we're here in the capital region, Washington, D.C., to welcome the arrival of sunshine days of springtime, and to cherish our friendship with Japan, we celebrate CherryBlossoms Festival. The two-week festival begins on the last Saturday of March with a family day and an official opening ceremony in the National Building Museum. A wide variety of cultural events are conducted on the following days. Marching bands. Dancing, singing, cultural performances. Blossom Kite Festival, formerly the Smithsonian Kite Festival. Classes about cherry blossoms and a bike tour of the tidal basin. Do you know how Cherry Blossoms tradition started? Cherry Blossom Festival celebrations started in remembrance of Japan's gift by Mayor Yukio Ozaki of Tokyo City to the city of Washington in 1912. Mayor Ozaki donated the trees in an effort to enhance the growing friendship between the United States and Japan, and also celebrate the continued close relationship between the two parts. What does history tell us about cherry blossoms? In 1906, David Fairchild, an American botanist, awarded Public Welfare Medal in 1933. imported 1,000 cherry trees from the Yokohama Nursery Company in Japan and planted them in his own property in Chevy Chase, Maryland. The Fairchilds were pleased with the results of their planting, and in 1907 began promoting Japanese flowering cherry trees as an ideal tree to plant around avenues in the Washington area. On September 26, 1907, with the help of Dr. Fairchild's friends, the Chevy Chase Land Company ordered 300 oriental cherry trees for the Chevy Chase area. In 1908, Fairchild donated cherry saplings to every DC school to plant on its school grounds in observance of Arbor Day. At an Arbor Day speech that Eliza Skidmore attended, Fairchild proposed that the Speedway, a now non-existing route around the DC tidal basin, should be turned into a fleet of cherries. In 1909, Skidmore decided to raise the money to buy cherry trees and donate them to the District of Columbia. On April 5th, she wrote a letter to First Lady Helen Herron Taft, wife of newly elected President Howard Taft. This is out of our today's topic, but I wanted to share some interesting facts about President William Taft. You know, he's the only president who served highest office of judicial branch. After leaving the presidency, President Taft did not want to retire. He took a job as a law professor at Yale University. Then in 1921, he finally got his dream job when President Warren G. Harding appointed him to the Supreme Court as Chief Justice. Taft truly enjoyed working on the Supreme Court. He worked almost up until the time of his death. Coming back to Cherry Blossoms. Folks, in response to the Miss Skidmore letter to First Lady Taft about cherry tree plantation in district, 2 days later, the First Lady Helen Taft responded. Thank you very much for your suggestion about the cherry trees. I have taken the matter up and am promised the trees, but I thought perhaps it would be best to make an avenue of them, extending down to the turn in the road, as the other part is still too rough to do any planting. Of course, they could not reflect in the water, but the effect would be very lovely of the long avenue. Let me know what you think about this. Sincerely yours, Helen H. Taft. 1909, April 13th. 5 days after Mrs. Taft's request, the Superintendent of the Office of Public Buildings and Grounds, Colonel Spencer Cosby, U.S. Army, initiated the purchase of 90 Fugenso cherry trees, Prunus cerulata fugenso, from Hoops Brothers and Thomas Coe, Westchester, Pennsylvania. The trees were planted along the Potomac River from the site of the Lincoln Memorial southward toward East Potomac Park. After planting, it was discovered that the trees were not named correctly. The trees were determined to be the cultivar Shirofugen, Prunus cerulata Shirofugen, and have since disappeared. By chance, Jokichi Takamine, the Japanese chemist who discovered adrenaline, was in district with Mr. Mitsuno, the Japanese consul to New York City. 1909, April 8. They informed of a plan to plant Japanese cherry trees along the Speedway, now tidal basin. Takamine asked if Mrs. Taft would accept an additional 2,000 trees, while Mitsuno suggested that the trees would be given in the name of Tokyo City. Takamine and Mitsuno subsequently met with the First Lady Mrs. Taft, who accepted the offer of 2,000 cherry trees gift. 1909, August 30th. The Japanese embassy informed the Department of State that the city of Tokyo intended to donate to the United States 2,000 cherry trees to be planted along the Potomac River. 1909, December 10th, 2,000 cherry trees arrived in Seattle, Washington from Japan. 1910, January 6th, the 2,000 trees arrived in Washington, D.C. via rail cars. 1910, January 19th, to everyone's dismay, an inspection team from the Department of Agriculture discovered that the trees were infested with insects and nematodes and were deceased. To protect American growers, the department concluded that the trees must be destroyed. 1910, January 28th, President William Howard Taft granted his consent to burn the trees. To replace the 2,000 infested trees gift, Tokyo City Mayor decided to send another consignment of 3,020 cherry trees originated from Arakawa River in Tokyo and grafted onto stock from Itami, Hyogo Prefecture. On February 14, 1912, 3,020 cherry trees of 12 cultivars were shipped on board the Awa Maru. March 26, 1912, consignment arrived in District of Columbia via railcar from Seattle, Washington. March 27, 1912, First Lady Helen Herron Taft and Viscountess Chinda, wife of the Japanese ambassador, planted the first 2 of these trees on the north bank of the tidal basin in West Potomac Park. At the end of the ceremony, the First Lady presented Viscountess Chinda with a bouquet of American Beauty roses. These 2 trees still stand at the terminus of 17th Street Southwest, marked by a large plaque. By 1915, the United States government had responded with a gift of flowering dogwood trees to the people of Japan. From 1913 to 1920, trees of the Somei Yoshino variety, which comprised 1,800 of the gift, were planted around the tidal basin. Trees of the other 11 varieties and the remaining Yoshinos were planted in East Potomac Park. In 1927, a group of American school children reenacted the initial planting. In 1934, the District of Columbia Commissioners sponsored a 3-day celebration of the flowering cherry trees. In 1935, First National Cherry Blossom Festival was held under joint sponsorship of trade groups and civic authorities. December 11th, 1941, 4 trees were cut down. It is suspected that this was retaliation for the attack on Pearl Harbor by the Empire of Japan 4 days earlier. This was never confirmed. To stop further attacks upon the trees during the war, authorities referred to them as Oriental flowering cherry trees for the war's duration, and the festival was suspended during World War II, after Japan's defeat in World War II. Later in 1947, with the support of the Washington, D.C. Board of Trade and the D.C. Commissioners, National Cherry Blossom Festival was resumed. During President Clinton administration in 1994, Cherry Blossoms Festival is expanded to 2 weeks-long celebration to accommodate a diverse schedule during the blooming period. Since 1912, most of the First Ladies of United States actively participated in improving the Cherry Blossoms Festival and served as honorary chairperson of the National Cherry Blossom Festival. Tuesday morning, March 27, 2012, First Lady Michelle Obama marked the centennial of Washington's Japanese cherry blossoms by reenacting the first planting of the trees in a ceremony along the Potomac River. Today, Cherry Blossom Festival has grown from modest beginnings to the nation's greatest springtime celebration. Here is the video clip of the 100-year celebration of Cherry Blossoms Festival.
Japan's gift has led to arguably the largest celebration in our national park system, the annual Cherry Blossom Festival, which brings hundreds of thousands of visitors to our nation's capital each year and giving a boost to the local economy by supporting many jobs. This is truly an international celebration of the coming of spring and the beauty of nature. For if you walk along the edge of the tidal basin, as I'm sure all of you have here, as I have just in the last few days, you'll hear languages from all over the globe.
We have roughly 3,700 trees. 3,020 trees were part of the gift, 3,700 now. So the number is consistent. The increase, there was a sort of a second gift back during Lady Bird's time, mostly the Washington Monument Grounds. So we went from 3,020 to 3,700, and we're sort of sustaining that. It's a cultural landscape. We maintain the trees in accordance with that. We have about 75, 80 of the original 1912 trees still surviving. They were probably 4 to 5 years old when they came over, so they're probably about 105 years old. The average life is 50 in the urban environment. The fact that we got 100 years it's simple. We have a group of men who are dedicated to these trees beyond their job with the Park Service. They take care of them. They're sort of like children. They have intimate contact with these trees. They know them well, and they take care of them. And that's why we have some trees that are 100 years old. May very well be the most pampered population of trees in our nation's capital, if not the country. We have a new memorial here. part of the design concept was to blend the memorial in without visually impacting the cherries. And I think if you go across the other side and look over, aside from the statue of Martin Luther King, you really wouldn't even know the memorial's there. I think the design concept did a nice job of blending the memorial in with the existing landscape. I believe that we may be able to sustain a few of the 100 trees for another 100 years.
For so many years, these trees have served as a symbol of the great friendship between the United States and Japan, and as a reminder of our shared hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And over the past century, people of all ages from the US and Japan and so many other nations have come to this tidal basin each spring to marvel at their beauty.